We'd like to begin this podcast by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. It is episode 12. Hi everyone, Talking Couch Potatoes. This is an interesting one, Mel. We're going to talk about the Greyhound Advocacy Workshop that happened in Melbourne. But we're not just going to talk about it. We had Talking Couch Potatoes correspondent on the ground, a roving reporter. Our producer Mel was there. Our producer Gemma was there.
I was there too.
Mel, you were there?
I was there, and Gemma was our roving reporter or podcast
How did you go,
person.
Gem?
It was fun.
It was fun? Did you get some good stuff?
Fantastic
I can't
stuff.
wait to hear, because you actually had a full roving reporter kit with you. Did some on-the-spot interviews.
Yep.
And we're going to hear some of them today, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Mel, tell us a little bit about the Greyhound Workshop in Melbourne. We mentioned it recently when we spoke to
Andrea. Yep, that we were co-hosting with the Coalition for the Protection of Greyhounds and Kim, who is the president of Blue the Grey.
Wow.
So really exciting, and I'm sure first of many.
And a first of its kind. It's the inaugural. And can I ask, was Georgie there?
Yes, she was.
Hi, Georgie. Hi, Georgie. She's one of my heroes, as I've said before. So, yeah, can't wait to hear what we came up with on that one. But, actually, before we do that, I've got a little update. Mel, how many countries do you think this little podcast of ours is reaching across the globe now?
It was 13 last time, I believe. 15?
It's gone to 16 now.
Oh, this is awesome.
16. And the latest 2 or 3, I can't remember all of them. Japan was one of them. Hi to our Japanese listeners. And Iceland was one of them.
Wow,
I
that's
know.
really interesting.
Iceland's the one that hasn't got ice. It's got the grass. And Greenland
is the
one
one
with the ice.
That's right.
Oh, there you go.
And maybe you could ask the people in Greenland to listen.
Yeah, because they wouldn't have greyhound racing. They'd be slipping around all over the place, wouldn't they?
Probably sled racing.
Sled racing. I hope they're kind to their little doggies. Yeah.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Alrighty.
There's just more animals to worry about.
Speaking of animals, there's a huge event coming up this long weekend.
That's right. We've got the Hyde Park Fair, which is always a really, really fun couple of days for us. This really, I guess, kicks off our fundraising or petitions or whatever it is for our year. It's always our number one event. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to it and hoping we get to see lots of people come by and say hi, pat a puppy, and sign or add their name to our petition.
I want to talk a lot more about that petition too, because that's a big one. So the Hyde Park Festival launch, which is on the 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, the long weekend. For those people that haven't been to Hyde Park, there's 2 very large lakes, and it's literally the whole park is covered with stalls and rides and things to see. And we will have people there with their tablets for you to be able to add your name to our petition. There will also be printed materials for you to be able to take away if you would like to help us collect signatures or have your family, your friends add their name to the petition, and also to ask people to make a pledge to continue to help us over this next 5 or so months to be able to gain more signatures. Petition runs till August the 24th.
This is petition number...
It's actually Free the Hounds' 4th petition.
4th petition. And the numbers keep going up every time. So let's break the record this time.
Yeah, last time we had approximately 18,600.
Yowza.
Yeah, we want to surpass that. I mean, honestly, a lot of times sharing things on social media is awesome, but actually having that conversation or speaking to somebody and saying, look, could you please do this, is a lot more effective.
Yep.
And we could do it. There's well over 100,000 people in WA that don't want dog racing.
Right, so let's
well
get all
over.
of them.
But it's a matter of people taking the time or friends asking people to do it to make it happen.
And I've bugged all of my work colleagues. I've sent it out to every global email list to get them to sign it. Just for now, Mel, where do people find it? If they're listening and they're thinking, how do I get to this thing?
Okay, so the first place and where it is all held is on the WA Government or WA Parliament website. So you can go there. There's a link that says current e-petitions, and you can go into there and then you'll see a list of all the petitions.
Awesome.
Because it is the way that we as the public can make change, and I don't think we see the strength in coming together to sign a petition no matter what it's for. Or you can go to the Free the Hounds website.
freethehounds.com.au.
Brilliant. And also social media, so Facebook, you can follow the link, and on our Instagram you can go to our bio and it's in there.
Awesome. So you don't have to, not everyone has to be a social justice warrior like Mel, who I believe gets 2 to 3 hours sleep every night and is mostly out there saving the hounds. You could just sit on your laptop and put your name on the something,
100%.
and that'll...
And one thing we do on our printed information, there is a QR code. So you can just even scan the QR code and it takes you straight to the Parliament website to sign it.
And you'll sleep well at night.
Yeah, you are helping dogs. These dogs that are currently in racing are not going to find homes. There's just physically not enough homes for these dogs to go into. So unless we do something about it, dogs will begin to die. And if you're not happy with that, you need to stand up and make your voice heard.
Be a voice for the voiceless, Mel.
Absolutely.
Awesome. What else have we got?
There is one thing that we will be doing. We are going to be at the Million Paws Walk again. So last year was the first year that we were involved in that with the RSPCA. And yeah, so I think it's 30 years the Paws Walk's been on. So it'll be the 30th birthday celebration this time, and that's in May.
May. Do we have a date on that, or just keep an eye out?
Keep an eye out.
So Million Paws Walk in May.
And it's usually on the South Perth foreshore.
Awesome.
So, and we do have our trivia night that is coming up in May as well. It was a blast last year. We had so much fun. So that will be on our social media as well. But that is the one event that we will be doing this year for fundraising, because our mind is fully on the petition, and that's where our work is going. But we still do need to raise some funds. So that'll be our trivia night.
Speaking of a trivia question, all right, what night in particular, what day in May is the trivia night? Matthew, 18th? Correct. Just won the first trivia question. 18th of May
there
for the trivia night. And come along, because it's a blast.
It's a lot of fun.
Absolute blast.
I think it's a bit of a geeky way, I guess, to spend a Saturday night, but something different for a lot of people.
It's awesome. Okay, Mel, once again, my producer keeps telling me you've got to stop saying this is the saddest part of the podcast. So I won't tell you that this is the saddest part of the podcast, even though it is. This is our stats section. Yeah,
we have had a really bad start to the year, unfortunately. I guess there's 2 reasons for it. Is the heat. So the dryness of the tracks, and I guess the lack of acknowledgement by racing and wagering to want to do anything about it. So we've had 4 deaths at Cannington Track so far. And then we had the second one at Mandurah. And the second thing we believe that is going to impact the number of deaths is the fact that Racing and Wagering WA have changed the way that their injury scheme works. So once a dog has been injured, instead of Racing and Wagering taking on responsibility of the dog, not only financially but also as far as kenneling them, and keeping them for that time during rehab, that has now been put back onto the trainers. So there is an amount that financially Racing and Wagering will pay up to a certain level, and then it becomes the trainer's responsibility if it goes over and above it, whereas before Racing and Wagering sort of just covered the whole thing. So the 2 injuries post the 1st of February, one of them specifically the right rear leg fracture, would have gone into the injury scheme. This dog didn't, it was euthanized. Okay. And I guess that is one of our fears, is that because trainers simply don't have
the resources or the time
and the space in their kennels, and a lot of them aren't going to put the time into having a dog in their kennels for up to 12 weeks. Right. It's not earning them any money. They still have to feed it. They get funding for the whole period from Racing and Wagering, but it's still taking space from a dog that could be earning money.
And time and energy.
Exactly.
So are you suggesting, Mel, that you're predicting perhaps these...
There'll be a spike in deaths.
Okay.
Definitely, yep.
Oh, dear.
I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but if you look at it last year, there was approximately 60 right rear leg fractures. Yep. And that went into the Greyhound injury scheme. They will all be killed now. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of dogs dying. Right. So is it going to happen? I don't know.
Well, you're not wrong about much, Mel. So tragically, I think I'd put a bet on you being right. On perhaps a lighter note and a more hopeful note, we want to discuss a little bit the Greyhound Advocacy Workshop in Melbourne, the first of its kind, the inaugural workshop where a bunch of like-minded souls are coming together, all with the aim of protecting and promoting and advancing the cause of greyhounds. Could you give us a little background on it, Mel?
Myself and Andrea, the president of Coalition for Protection of Greyhounds. We were invited by the Animal Rights Forum to speak, and we thought, well, while we're over there, what about bringing together anybody else that might be going that are involved in greyhounds? And it ended up being literally from all over Australia.
Wow.
So from advocacy groups to rescue groups to Animals Australia, politicians, political parties.
Yep.
We've got a couple represented.
Georgie Purcell.
And also the RSPCA. So it was just a really good way of us to all connect. And you know what? A highlight of it was for me was actually meeting people for the first time face to face. It's very different from being on a Zoom call to actually meet with them. And we came out with some really exciting.
That was the word I had in my mind. It sounds very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds big.
Well, it is. I think it has made the movement stronger.
Right. And one of many exciting things that are happening, I heard recently, Mel, that the Mayor of Cannington has come out explicitly requesting the end of greyhound racing. That's a huge thing, surely.
It is. It is massive. And I spoke at the council meeting just before we went over for the welfare forum.
Awesome. Patrick Hall, two brothers in arms, I guess now, brothers and sisters in arms.
Yeah, and also, of course, to Senator Faruqi for joining us at our protest.
Oh, yes.
And also our brilliant facilitator and really strong supporter, Brad Pettit, MLC. He's always in our corner.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for being a part of a great cause, and you're on the right side of history.
Woohoo.
So, Mel, we've got a little... Well, we don't just talk about these things. We dive right into them. We're on the ground. We're hands-on. And our producer, Jem. Hi, Jem.
Hello.
Jem's a little shy sometimes.
Yeah, she wasn't at the workshop.
Jem was there, was on the ground and caught some interviews, talked to some interesting people, got some feedback, and we're going to play a little bit of that for you now.
And she spoke to Georgie, Matt.
Did she speak to Georgie Purcell?
She did.
Oh, my goodness.
She was face to face.
Did you say hi for me? Did you say that?
I did say hi, and I also wore my Georgie Purcell t-shirt.
Oh, the one that I've got. I've got one of those too, haven't I?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully Georgie Purcell's listening to this and she'll come on our show again because she's super smart. She's super passionate about what she stands for, and she's just a lovely human being. So come on back, Geordie. But for now, I will live vicariously through our producer, Gemma, and let's hear what she came up with.
Hi, welcome to the Greyhound Workshop in Melbourne, put on by Free the Hounds, Coalition for the Protection of Greyhounds, and Blue the Grey. And where literally I kind of wish there was a red carpet here, because there are rock stars of the greyhound advocacy world in Australia and international. So it's quite something, and it's never happened before. We're all keen to get on and figure out how we can go forward and make sure that the welfare of these greyhounds is the best it can possibly be.
I'm here with our very own Julie from Free the Hounds. She's been a volunteer for a very long time. Well, any highlights from this morning?
Whole morning was actually a highlight. Just being with like-minded animal advocates, particularly for greyhounds. You know, the old saying, knowledge is power. Well, I've just learned so much this morning, and so much that we can work towards and apply in Western Australia. I'm really hoping that as a result of today's workshop, that this becomes annual. I think the connections are going to be invaluable, friendships, and also just being able to press in and lean on what works in some states that could work in our state as well. So rapt about it and hope it's an annual event.
Yeah, it's pretty thrilling. I agree. Well, thank you, Julie. It was nice chatting to you here in the corridor.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm here with two ladies from the Greyhound Welfare Initiative in South Australia. So we've got Georgia and Elle. First of all, I'll ask Elle, how's your morning going so far? Thanks. It's been going great. It's been awesome to chat with some like-minded people. Lots of ideas for how we can move forward with the banning greyhound racing. I think we have a huge opportunity in South Australia with a lot of recommendations coming out of a really damning report to drive forward. And I think a lot of collaboration between other states we can use and leverage this movement moving forward. So, Georgia, any highlights for you this morning?
I think just hearing about how it's all one industry in the country, but the states differ so much and what everyone's focusing on differs so much and what we can do to support each other and like work smarter. So give advice, and it's such a unique situation where everyone knows everything that everyone else is talking about.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think there's going to be some really great initiatives coming out. But you guys are at the top of the list at the moment because you've got some amazing things happening in South Australia when it comes to advocacy for greyhounds. Do you want to speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's a time I feel hopeful for the future. Often in this space, you feel pretty down and defeated, but definitely in South Australia, the way it's looking is hopeful. The government has given the industry 2 years to basically reform itself, which we know is impossible. It cannot reform an industry that's founded on the exploitation of animals. So though we see huge opportunity progressing some of the recommendations that were accepted by the government, particularly around banning surgical artificial insemination, and the transport between states for greyhounds as well, which is a huge issue, which contributes to their lack of traceability because there's such a little amount of transparency from that area of the industry anyway. Exciting initiatives from our side. Obviously, we work pretty hard, Georgia and myself, behind the scenes, tracking the recommendations, their progress, community education, so getting out and talking to as many people as possible. I try to manage stakeholder relationships by talking to other groups and keep it on the agenda, keep the greyhound conversation going. That's really our driving force, and do certainly feel quite motivated at the moment.
Yeah, that's great. And do you have greyhounds yourselves?
So my first boy, Breeze, we got him in 2008 and he came straight from the trainer. There was no, I don't know if it's mentioned in the podcast before, but there's only industry run rehoming in South Australia.
Right. So that's only greyhound as pets, which is the industry run.
There's no independent community run rescues. So the only way that you're likely to get a dog in South Australia not through the industry run program is Gumtree, the website, or just hearing about it. So we just heard about a dog that had been injured and we just turned up at the property.
Wow.
So yeah, it's an interesting one in South Australia. Like you're not really going to a community run rescue and being like, oh, these are things that I want in a dog and this and that kind of thing. It's more of a dire situation, which is probably Elle is probably better at speaking about because she has saved some dogs from really dire situations, right? Recently, 2 dogs. And yeah, so my current boy, Rigby, beautiful boy, and we love him very much.
Shout out to Rigby.
But I think that Elle is the best one to speak about adopting because she has currently a house full of greyhounds.
Wow. That sounds like my dream now.
My dream. So we had 4 at home, and I will say we live in a small house. So, but it's amazing how well they live together. Obviously they've got their own needs, and make sure that we work towards that. Yeah, it's like Georgia said, there's no safety net in South Australia. It's the industry or Gumtree or word of mouth and picking one up off the side of the road from a trainer. So yeah, I see that as a dire situation. But we've got a beautiful foster boy at the moment, Jobby, who was able to get him into our home, and I found a home for him. Yay! So yeah, so I've got my 2 greyhounds, Maggie and Fergie, and they're wonderful siblings to the foster hounds that we often pick up from nefarious situations and rehabilitate. So yeah.
Oh, well, that's great. You guys are doing such great work. And like, if we do have any listeners in South Australia, you can get in touch with Greyhound Welfare Initiatives, and they are probably looking for any help that they can get, any volleys that they might need as well. Thank you so much for talking to me, Al.
Thank you.
And Georgia.
Thank you.
So I'm here with Fiona from Coalition of the Protection of Greyhounds, and she is one of the digital warriors that is collecting information for the coalition to release to the public and just expose what the industry numbers, the injuries, the deaths. And if you can elaborate any more, Fiona, that would be great. But have you had a good day today?
It was absolutely fantastic. And to meet all of the incredible people who volunteer is incredibly inspiring. I mean, I always think back to the creation of the Oxford English Dictionary, which was entirely done by volunteers. The editor was paid a stipend, but all the entries were done by volunteers across the entire UK. And when people get tired as volunteers, or when I feel tired, I think that's an inspiring thing to remember.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't know that. So what was your highlight today?
I think the new ideas generator and the information shared is incredibly valuable for lots of new ideas to put into action.
I know, it's fantastic. I can't wait to see them all play out, but we're keeping that under wraps for a very good reason. And we're all really excited to see the end of greyhound racing ultimately here in Australia.
Too right. And I'd like to encourage anyone who might be on mat leave or parental leave at home, or a retired PR person, to think of volunteering with the Coalition for Protection of Greyhounds, because I know that working in that area can be very demanding, but we're in desperate need of more people who can really write a good news release and aren't worried about tackling difficult issues to explain.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I hope we find a couple of people out there that are listening that are wondering how they could help. If you've got those skills, the Coalition for the Protection of Greyhounds would love for you to Google just that, and you will find their website and be able to get in touch with them from there.
Love to hear from them. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Fiona. So I'm now here with Carrie Teal from Grey 2K USA Worldwide. Him and Christine Durtak have travelled across the globe to join us here in Melbourne. Carrie, I just watched your presentation at the panel, and one of the things that you said that really struck a chord with me is that the animal rights priority should be to end greyhound racing. And I just wondered if you could repeat what you said on the panel, because it really was fantastic.
Well, it's very kind of you. And thank you for having me. It's truly been an honor to be here and see so many people who are fighting for greyhounds and doing such amazing work. So we're just here to offer our support and solidarity. But one message I did want to bring to the conference today is that the fight to end greyhound racing should be a priority for the animal rights community. And there's two reasons for that. First, this is the only issue, if you look across the movement globally, in which the animal rights community is taking on an animal exploitation industry that is politically powerful, culturally relevant, economically significant, seeking to completely abolish it and winning. And the precedent that sets is going to have a profound impact on the animal rights movement going forward. I believe the animal rights movement will have its day, that in 50 years, there will be campaigns happening that we can only dream of today. And one of the roads to that place, in my opinion, is through this greyhound fight. So I think this is an urgent campaign for the entire community. And secondly, there's just so much grassroots activism happening. To be at the Greyhound Workshop was truly like living through history, and to see how many people are working on this and see them come together for the first time and have dialogue that was very strategically well thought out, as well, sophisticated. And I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that the grassroots community here is going to end greyhound racing in Australia. Question is, how long is that going to take, and how many dogs are going to suffer and die in the meantime?
Oh, thank you so much for that, Carrie. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all your decades of work helping the greyhounds worldwide.
It's very kind. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm here with Georgie Purcell, who is here in Victoria at the Animal Rights Forum, and she was actually with us at the Greyhound Protection Workshop yesterday. And I just want to ask you, Georgie, what did you think of the workshop? What was your highlight?
I was actually just saying before to some of the people that were there, I've never been more motivated or inspired about the future of our movement and our aspirations to close down the greyhound racing industry. It was really great to get everyone in the same room, working in different spaces, but united with the same approach, and to strategize and organize and to learn off each other's skills and expertise. And I feel really, really hopeful, and I'm confident that we're going to be able to save these dogs and shut it down.
Just now we heard Harry Deal speak, and he was saying how it should be a priority for the animal rights movement at the moment to really focus on greyhound racing. Is that something you agree with?
Yeah, absolutely. I think greyhound racing is a weak link for animal abusers across the entire country. It's something that's particularly unique about greyhound racing is these are our companion animals being treated as livestock and agricultural animals. And I think they're a really good bridging animal to help raise the injustices occurring to other animals while creating compassion for them and their suffering. Everyone loves dogs and they're horrified to hear the ways that they're treated in these industries. And I think they provide us a really unique opportunity to create universal compassion for animals. And I've been reflecting on it a lot, but with the industry being forced to rehome these dogs with all of the crises and, scandals that have gone on, it's actually been the worst thing for them because more and more people than ever before are getting greyhounds. And we all know that they're their own best advocates. And every single day, someone's meeting a greyhound on the street, they're adopting a greyhound, and it's creating this tidal wave against the industry. And I think it's really amazing seeing these dogs do their own work and we just get to speak on behalf of them.
Yeah, I agree. I've always said that they're our best marketing tool in the anti-greyhound race movement. And yeah, you can't stop a tidal wave. Sure can't. Okay, I'm here with Lisa White from Friends of the Hound Incorporated, and she works in New South Wales and in Queensland. Hi, Lisa. Thanks for talking to me today. Hi, Gemma. Thank you. So what have been your highlights so far this weekend?
Well, I must say the workshop where we had, I don't know how many people, there was over 30 people in the room. And I think the thing that was a takeaway for me was, given that we operate in New South Wales and Queensland, was knowing what was happening in other states. Like, we're far removed and we're doing our own thing. So it was really nice to catch up with people from other states and learn, because greyhound racing state by state is completely different. The politics is different in each state, and how greyhound racing, the dog killing industry, I should call it, operates in each state, it's different. So I found it very interesting to talk to people from other states and learn what was happening and learn about the movement in those states. And it was just so inspiring to think that finally, after all these years, that we are going to collaborate and unite in our movement and unite in strength. So yeah, it was quite heartwarming.
Absolutely. And Georgie Purcell, I was just speaking to, she had mentioned that it is a tidal wave and there's no way anyone can stop a tidal wave.
She's amazing. It was really good to have Georgie in the room on the workshop day. And she actually provided such insight into basically what's happening with her and Victoria, but also gave lots of fantastic information, particularly on that political side of things.
And Lisa, I was at the workshop yesterday, and I know one of the topics that came up was that it's really hard as a rescue group, which is what you are, as opposed to an advocacy group. It's really difficult for some of them to have an overt anti-racing stance because it can damage some relationships with the trainers that you need in order to safely pick up the dogs and ensure that you've got the dogs in your care. Did you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah, Friends of the Hound, we're a non-profit volunteer-based rescue group, and this is our 21st year of operation in finding suitable homes for greyhounds as companion animals. And the entire time we've been very outspoken about the greyhound racing industry, the welfare concerns for the dogs, and the negative outcomes for the dogs. Now, the trainers that we take dogs from, they know our stance, and it has never stopped us taking dogs. So they still treat us like their best friends. They still open up to us and give us intel. So, and part of my speech here today at the Animal Rights Forum was that the dogs are the best ambassadors for the greyhound cause. And through saving them and putting them out in our communities as companion animals, we're actually helping to create more advocates for ending greyhound racing. So people that are adopting dogs, that learn the truth about what happens to these dogs and the truth about this horrific, cruel
dog killing industry and all the misery and suffering that these dogs are put through, they're the people that are now becoming our audience for advocacy and for change.
Absolutely. I had no idea that racing even existed just over 5 years ago now, when I first got my dog, Bunny, who is my little princess. And once I found out about the greyhound industry, Lisa, I just couldn't not do anything. Yeah, there's just no stopping me, and I'm going to be part of that tidal wave. And that is great, because that is what happens. People love these dogs. These are dogs. And this is the thing that I find incredible about this exploitation of these animals, is that dogs are one of the most favoured animals in the world. And here we are in Australia with 64 tracks exploiting these animals. They're caged, they're drugged, they're injured, and they're routinely discarded. It's a predetermined fact that these dogs are going to be discarded every time a pup is born. And yet it continues, and it amazes me. So same, I rescued my first greyhound out of the local pound. I did my research and I thought, wow, what's happening? I mean, this was 21 years ago, but it was like a slap in the face. And I thought, wow, I should do something. I didn't realize at that time that it was going to be spending my life doing this, but I'm glad I am. Yeah. And if you aren't angry enough about all those things that Lisa just listed, which are the problems with the greyhound industry, the layers of the onion go even deeper, don't they? We've got the live baiting, we've got the export, we've got the artificial insemination of the females, we've got the semen being exported to countries of concern where greyhound racing is illegal. And so we're here to do everything we can in our power, and it's very inspiring to see so many people, and we're determined to end it, and we're going to. And we are. So yes, it has been a very inspirational weekend, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And I'm so glad to put the faces to the names of all these people that you know by email or you see online. Yeah, it's been wonderful. I've really enjoyed it. Yeah. Thank you so much for talking to me, Lisa. It's been great. Thank you, Gemma. Yeah. Wow. Okay, I'm really lucky to have with me here Nat Panzarino from Greyhound Rescue New South Wales. Nat, I was just chatting to you about our petition in Western Australia and how one of the demands we have is that there should be an independent regulator. You actually do have some sort of independent regulator that you work very closely.
Yeah, so we're really lucky in New South Wales, and I think the advocacy workshop on Friday really highlighted to me exactly how lucky we are to have that independent regulator. I think since the Greyhound Welfare Integrity Commission has been established and has been working across the state, we've definitely seen an increase in the welfare of the animals that are leaving the industry and coming to us. And we definitely do see action from them. You know, when a greyhound does come to us in poor condition, then we know that they're following it up. So it's really great because now we've got some recourse. We've got someone that we can go to and say, look, you know, this greyhound arrived that had an injury, or this greyhound arrived in bad condition, and we're worried about the welfare of the other dogs at that property. And then in that sort of instance, the regulator is able to send some inspectors to just check on the other dogs at the property and take action if they need to. So I think as far as an independent regulator goes, there's a lot more that they could do if they had the funding and the resources to do it. Obviously, we know just in general in the animal welfare space that the penalties that can be imposed for people doing the wrong thing are pretty tragic. So I think while GWIC is doing a great job with what they have in the scope of what they can do, what we would like to see is more funding for GWIC so that they can be more across all of the problems, and obviously greater penalties for the people that are doing the wrong thing. Because at the end of the day, you know, it's in the name, it's the Greyhound Welfare Integrity Commission, and that's really what they're all about. And yeah, we're just so lucky that we do have that independent body that we're able to go to with our concerns, and that they're able to take action on them. Even if that action maybe isn't as big as we would always necessarily like, at least there's something there and something we can do about it. And compared to the other states, we're really lucky.
Absolutely. So this is kind of an example where the system is working somewhat in the favour of the welfare of the greyhounds, because I know in Western Australia, it's maybe 1% of the revenue that the Racing and Wagering WA generate is actually going back to the greyhound.
Yeah, look, I think, it's baby steps. We know that in New South Wales, the history of it, where we had the ban imposed, there was a backflip on the ban, after that, the McHugh inquiry, which was massive, and the Four Corners expose. So that's the history in New South Wales, where we kind of had it and then we kind of lost it. So at this point, there's been a lot of money poured into the industry with the aim of cleaning it up and improving welfare. And from our perspective, any step in the right direction, anything that will improve the welfare and well-being of the dogs, anything that makes sure that fewer dogs are disappearing, fewer dogs are being injured, fewer dogs are ending up in poor condition when they leave the industry, then that's positive, right? Any improvement we can get, any movement on the needle in that regard, seeing dogs in better conditions, seeing dogs healthier, seeing dogs suffering less injuries, fewer deaths, all of that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. That was kind of a common theme, how to move that dial and try and get better welfare for the greyhounds overall. Any other highlights of the weekend and Friday that you can think of?
Yeah, I think it was really good to get everyone together. I think there's strength in numbers, and if we can collaborate and if we can work together, not everyone has the same approach and not everyone necessarily has the exact same set of goals and values, but we all do have that commonality that we want to see as many greyhounds saved as possible, as many greyhounds being looked after, and seeing that higher welfare across the industry and across animals leaving the industry. And we just want to make sure that every greyhound gets the life that they deserve, which is love and comfort and just a good time.
Super.
Yeah, that's right. A nice comfy couch and a family to feed them treats on the regular.
And Nat, do you have any greyhounds yourself? Can we give a shout out to your greyhound?
I do. I have 3 beautiful greyhounds. I've got 2 little old ladies. I've got Daisy, who's 12, and Ellie Mae, who's 13 years old. And then I've got beautiful Big Brock, he's one of our ambassador dogs because he's just like, he wants to make friends with everybody all the time. And then I currently have a foster dog named Barbara, who has had some very, very significant health challenges, but she's much, much healthier and happier now. So yeah, 4 greyhounds at home. It's great.
Again, it sounds like my dream. Well, it was a wonderful meeting you here, and I know you've spent many, many years helping the greyhounds. So thank you so much for all the work you do.
Thank you as well. It's really great work you're doing, and it was really great to speak with you.
Well, that was quite fascinating, wasn't it, Mel?
It was.
What's some interesting chats, interesting people. It sounds like you worked really hard on that, Jim.
Yeah. It was great to speak to everybody. It was such a successful workshop, and we've got lots to work on. We're all really excited about
big
it.
ideas, big plans in place.
Yeah.
Did you
look out? We're going to smash it.
All right. Thank you for all of that. Thanks, Jem, for and Mel and everyone really who made a huge effort to set this up and be there. That is kind of it for today. We're gonna, as I said, we're back with episode number 13, Teenager. Next one. You're joining a global community, Mel, aren't they? It's not just this little WA podcast that we're very proud of. It's a global community to change, to end an outdated, inhumane, unsustainable so-called sport. And together across the world, we shall release the hounds.
Yep, and if you're in Greenland, let me know.